You see it on appliances, electronics, maybe even the helmet you wear. It's a symbol that's so common we barely even notice it anymore. But behind that simple little mark, there's a whole complex story of standards, inspections, and a real promise of quality. So, what's really going on there? Well, today, we're cracking the code on the ISI mark. Right. So this little logo, it's basically a silent promise, right? A promise of quality and safety. But how is that promise actually made? And more importantly, how is it kept? What kind of journey does a product have to go on to earn this stamp of approval? Okay, let's break it all down.
Okay, so to really get the mark, we first have to meet the organizations that are, its guardians. There are really two key players you gotta know.
So on one side, you've got the Bureau of Indian Standards, or BIS, and on the other, the ISI mark that it administers. It helps to think of BIS as the super meticulous gatekeeper, and the ISI mark is like the key that unlocks all of that consumer trust. They're basically two sides of the very same coin.
And let's be super clear here. BIS is not just some rubber stamp office. I mean, as the national standards body of India, their job is to go deep. We're talking rigorous assessments of, well, everything, from a factory's infrastructure all the way to its quality control. They're there to make absolutely sure it has what it takes to consistently create a quality product.
So, what about the mark itself? Well, it's actually been around since 1947, which is pretty cool. It originally came from the Indian Standard Institution. So when you see it today, it's a direct signal. It's telling you this product has been tested, it's been verified, and it meets a specific national standard for both quality and this is so important, for safety.
Which, of course, brings us to the core of it all. How does a product actually earn this mark? I can tell you it is not just a simple application form. No way. It's a really comprehensive journey. And, believe it or not, there are even a few different paths a manufacturer can take.
Yeah, if you look at the big picture, this journey is pretty intense. First up, a manufacturer has to figure out the exact Indian standard for their specific product. Then comes the mountain of paperwork. After they apply, they have to face an on-site inspection from BIS. And then finally, the product itself has to go through some really tough, independent testing.
Now here's something interesting. Manufacturers actually have a choice to make right at the beginning of all this. They can take what's called the normal route, or they can go for a simplified one. Now, both of them, they lead to the same place, but the path and, the risks are pretty different.
Okay, so that first major fork in the road, it's all about the initial test reports. If you go the normal route, a manufacturer can just submit a report from their own in-house lab. But if they go with the simplified process, that report has to come from an independent BIS-approved lab. So it's basically a choice between self-verification and third-party verification right from the get-go.
And hey, no matter which path they choose, the paperwork is just extensive. It really shows you the incredible level of scrutiny here. I mean, we are talking everything: legal identity, factory layouts, process flow charts, lists of machinery, qualifications for the QC staff, even the specs for the raw materials they use. Every single detail has to be documented.
And listen, this is not just a paper-pushing exercise. Oh no! A BIS officer physically goes to the factory. We're talking boots on the ground. They walk the floor, they check the machinery, they verify all the processes that were laid out in those documents. They are literally there to confirm that what's on paper is what's happening in reality. So after that inspection, the officer takes a sample of the actual product, and it gets sealed right there on site and then sent off to a totally independent lab. This is like the ultimate proof point, Does the product itself actually meet the standard when it's put under the microscope by an impartial third party?
And this is the biggest difference between the two paths. With the normal process, you have to wait. You only get your license after that final lab report comes back, and it's a pass. The simplified process, on the other hand, is faster. You can get the license right after the inspection. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. If that final test report comes back and it's a fail, the license is stopped immediately. So yeah, it's a pretty significant risk.
This whole rigorous process, it's not just for companies in India. The ISI mark has become a really crucial standard for any international manufacturer that wants to sell their products in the huge Indian market. So foreign manufacturers, they follow a very similar path, but with a few extra hoops to jump through. They've got to submit a physical application, get all their documents translated into English, and, this is a big one, they have to nominate an authorized Indian representative, or an AIR, who's basically their local contact. But the key thing is,
The standards for quality, they are exactly the same. Doesn't matter where in the world the factory is.
Okay, so we spent a lot of time on the how. Now let's switch gears and talk about the why. I mean, why does all this bureaucracy and all this testing actually matter? Well, because when you really boil it all down, the ISI mark is so much more than just a little logo on a package.
I mean, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? For you, the person who's actually buying the product, it's a shortcut, it's an assurance, it's telling you that the item in your hand isn't just what the company says it is, it's what a national body has independently gone in and verified it to be.
So when you boil it all down, what does it really symbolize? Well, for us, the consumers, it's all about trust. For the manufacturers who go through this whole demanding process, it's accountability. And for the nation as a whole, it represents a real commitment to a baseline of quality and safety in the marketplace. And that kind of leaves us with the final thought, right? We've just unpacked this really intense journey that a product takes just to earn this one little mark. So maybe the next time you see that logo, it's worth asking yourself, now that you know the whole story behind the symbol, what does quality on a product really mean to you?